But first, Kath Mackey looks back on a washout summer, the consequences of which are still being felt.
From the sky, it was a story on an epic scale. Cities, towns and villages underwater. On the ground, it was a story of survival.
Got the kids, threw some clothes on and we ran for our lives.
We've got no bread and no water now.
It was a story of heartbreak.
How are you feeling?
No,
Not brilliant.
no.
Not brilliant at all.
And it was a story of heroism.
You went, we got a message of 5 people need to come out.
This man is Julian Jenkins, who was the watch manager at Evesham Station on the 20th of July last year. He returned a year on to the village of Sedgeborough, where he'd coordinated the rescue of more than 60 people by boat and helicopter.
Standing where we're standing now, we would be underwater. My head would be 2 feet underwater. People were standing on chairs in their kitchens with the water up to their waist. It must have been absolutely terrifying for them.
It was probably up to about your guttering, I believe, wasn't it?
Firefighter Mark Frost was in one of the rescue boats.
To actually get through, we actually came through this gap in the hedge here above the hedgerow.
On a boat?
Yeah, on a boat, yeah, which is quite surreal.
We got out from the bedroom window just at the top, so by the fire rescue people, which I cannot praise enough, really.
We come back quite often in the village. If we got people on the station, just bring them back and show them what it was like, because unless you were actually here on the day, I don't think you'll ever believe how deep it was or what it was actually like to be here.
The fire service rescued almost 1,200 people that weekend. The force of the water was extraordinary. The M50 resembled a canal and thousands of motorists were trapped on the M5. Mike Gilmore from Stafford was among them.
It was complete devastation. It was totally alien to anything that anybody had ever experienced. I tried to get out and give people help and just a bit of guidance, because I was ahead of them. I could see what was coming on. And so once we got off, it was utter relief.
In Ludlow, a bridge collapsed, as did the home of Sol and Doreen Pearce.
It seems a bit odd to see a blank spot now.
A year on, only the foundations remain.
We're moving on, that's the main thing, and it does seem a tragedy, but I suppose, as I've said before, we were the lucky ones, really. We got somewhere else, like, away from the river.
Brian and Delia White.
Some good news there. Well, not last summer. It was the wettest since records began, and floods struck first in the north of England, and then a few weeks later, a year ago today, in fact, the West Country and Wales were really badly hit.
The waters rose so quickly in less than half an hour that hundreds of people needed evacuating from their homes. We're joined now by watch manager Julian Jenkins, who helped lead the rescue effort in Evesham in Worcestershire. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
It was the biggest operation ever undertaken in the UK, and you were right at the heart of it. What are your reflections on it a year on?
I think I was in the crew that first arrived, first team on the scene, and the sheer amount of water that ran through the village, horrible brown cold water, people in the water, 2 men on a van about to be swept away, trying to get away from it. And the sheer scale of it, the number of houses and the number of people that were affected, it was just astonishing.
How prepared were you for this?
We do water training. We're trained to enter the water. We have a boat on station, but nothing to this extent at all. Not to that great.
We're just watching pictures of you indeed there. This is the second day of the operation. This is in Evesham. Just talk us through what was happening here. There's the rescue helicopter.
Yeah, this was in Monk's Walk in Evesham. We just rescued a pregnant woman from a property there. We got a ladder into the water and got her down in a boat. The next door property, there was a young lad who needed to be evacuated. I think there was a problem with his medication. We couldn't use the same method with the ladder, so we had to call the helicopter in. One of my swimmers, Adrian, he's in the water there, he's liaising. He found out that this lad needed rescuing. He got on to me to tell me that we needed a helicopter. I got on to our Bronze Command, which was just up the road at Evesham Fire Station, and they ordered the helicopter in.
Were people really terrified?
They were. If you can imagine, you're in your living room watching TV, and 20 minutes later you can be up to your neck in freezing cold brown water. Absolutely petrifying.
And that was the thing, because it happened so quickly.
It did, yes. It was a half-an-hour period. The village of Sedgeborough just was swamped by water.
What's it like now?
The village looks normal, apart from a few of the houses still have skips outside, and none of them have their front doors open. They're still trying to dry the properties out. There's a lot of people still living in caravans in that area.
Which is incredible to hear a year on, that people are still waiting for some parts to dry out.
I think the big problem was there wasn't enough builders around. They're waiting for their houses to be repaired, but there's a lot of them, and there's only so many builders that can do the work.
What lessons did you learn, you and the service?
It's a preparation. We learned a lot from coordinating resources, not just the fire service resources, but other boat resources and helicopters and the police. There was a massive amount of experience gained from that. On a personal level, we're learning how to work in such difficult conditions in fast-moving, running water. It was just an incredible experience.
You know, when you're doing this for a living, I mean, this is what you've trained for, and it's, of course, you're not wishing for something like this, but all your expertise is kicking in. And then emotionally, does it have an impact on you at all?
I think at the time, it was a big adrenaline rush. You're getting the operation underway, looking after people, getting everything sorted, doing the best you can. It's only later when you sort of reflect on that we could have found bodies floating in their own living rooms, that sort of thing. It kind of hits you then, the scale and the enormity of it all.
Well, on this anniversary, well done again to you and to all your team. Thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Now let's have a look at what the Sunday papers are saying today. We'll start